Well, we're out at Benside at the Dunedin Fire Restoration Society's area, and the idea of the whole thing is to try and preserve Dunedin's fire history. There's two bases. The main one is here where we work on the appliances, and we have an area up at Lookout Point Fire Station where we've got a lot of archives and photographs, uniforms and bits and pieces, paraphernalia from the bygone era. It was first started and thought about by Dunedin firefighters in 1994.
And Doug Hall come to the rescue and offered us the facilities here, which was much appreciated by the members. And Doug enjoys coming in and having a yarn to us and stuff like that. And as I say, reciprocal, we help him out and he helps us out.
It's just grown to the extent where we're just about outgrowing these premises now. We've got something like 14 fire appliances within the confines of here. The majority of the members are ex-firefighters, or there's a few current firefighters as well. Like I haven't been in the fire service now for 23 years. I served 24 years in the fire service, but now I'm just a bit too old and decrepit. So anybody's welcome to come and join us if they're interested in that kind of thing.
I joined the fire service in 1972, yeah, and I left about 3 years ago.
Did 47 years in the Dunedin Fire Service, and the truck that's sitting behind me here is the one I went on my first fire call as a driver on, and I still remember it to this day.
And my connection with the fire service probably goes back to 1951. My father was the 4th officer in the Dunedin Fire Brigade. In 1956, at the age of 17 years, 3 months, I joined the Dunedin Fire Brigade. Now, prior to 1956, this vehicle that's behind me arrived off a ship at Port Chalmers, plus its sister vehicle, number 24, and they're both Genesis and they're powered by Rolls-Royce motors.
And what happened was, when they'd finished with them, they bought a new appliance that would be sent out to Ravensbourne or Port Chalmers, and the volunteer fire stations received the older equipment.
It arrived in the late 60s, and it's a 100-foot Merriweather ladder, and it was actually the whole ladder assembly was, they built them, they handmade them. Yeah, I drove it for a number of years. Did a rescue on the outside of the electricity building in Cumberland Street. There was a guy on one of those window cleaning platforms that dived down on one end, so I extended up and we got the guy down.
A lot of the calls we went a long way before we actually got to the fire to help the other crews in that. So that was exciting when we're young guys driving a fast truck and getting paid for it. It wasn't too bad. It was getting old and it's getting done, but since we've had it here, we've done the motor up. It's a V8 diesel.
My association with the brigade carried on right through to 1968, 69, and through that time I went through the ranks and drove most of the appliances that are here up to the 1969 era.
With the advent of the New Zealand Fire Service, of course, we got a whole pile of brand new trucks all at once, and a lot of them disappeared, and we don't know where they went. So if anyone sees this and wants to say, oh well, I know where such and such an appliance is, we'd love to hear from them, we really would.
I actually worked in the motor shop. Being part of being employed as a firefighter in my day, if you had a skill, they used it. I mean, if you had been a painter, you might have been around painting the premises and things like that. If you're a carpenter, you worked on the ladders. And my interest in those days was in motor vehicles, and because of that I ended up working in the motor shop. Some of the things that I've worked on in the brigade I've worked on here.
One or two of them, the likes of 23, we're doing a little bit on that at the moment, and it's just cosmetic work where there's a bit of rust and lockers are a bit rotten and that kind of thing. A lot of them are wooden framed inside, so there's a lot of that work goes on. 24 in particular, it was falling apart, absolutely. You know, nothing was holding together, the whole thing was falling off. So that's been stripped right back to the chassis. So we don't want to go overboard, but we don't want them falling apart on us. So.
Yeah, I've changed all the hydraulic oil in it and the filters and that, and had them cleaned, and and the engine oil and all that sort of stuff, and yeah.
All the trucks here I've been on, driven most 90% of these trucks that we've got here, been to fires on them, and it's just good to meet all the old guys that we've been to lots of fires with, and you know, and still be allowed to drive some of the old trucks.
Camaraderie with working with the guys.
Yeah, the company and just working on the gear, yeah.
Number 16 is a pride of the Restoration Society, and it's parked in a bay at Central Fire Station permanently. So we use that for a lot of events, like the Centre Parade. One of our main sponsors, Mitre 10, actually, they use it, you know, a couple of times a year to give kids rides and that kind of thing.
Money's the biggest problem here. Like, we used to be able to do dry riser testing. We'd use the pump and pressurise the risers on the high-rise buildings, but now the alarm companies do it with compressed air, so that was one of our main incomes, and so now we sort of do struggle for income.
It's mainly donations and subscription. It's a minimal subscription of, you know, 20 odd bucks a year. But we do fundraising like any other society. We're a charitable organisation too, in that we're registered with so if anyone gives us a donation, it's actually reclaimable. So we have quite a few, as you can see on the board behind us there, a lot of sponsors. Next door and across the way there's two 1916 fire appliances, 1950s, 60s, right the way through we've got appliances. But as I say, if there's anyone listening or watching this and they know of another appliance, we're more than likely to try and save it if it's served in Dunedin.
When I knocked off, I thought I needed to get away at least once a week, and it's quite good guys, and it's quite I'm interested in the old appliances.
Apart from the things that you do around home, this is just another interest, and it's an interest where I can relax and I can do what I want to do on the Mondays and the days you come here.